Rob is a firefighter in Honolulu, Hawaii. He runs the drone program for the Honolulu Fire Department. He bought his first drone from a cop. Tells us a little bit about the drone program, what the program does for the fire department, and what he sees as the future of this program. Rob is retirement eligible, but said he does not feel right about leaving until he is sure this program is where he wants it to be. He set it up and is owning this program. Here we go with Rob. All right, here we go. This is Thursday, August the 5th, and we are sitting in the Honolulu Police Department, downtown Honolulu, and we're going to talk a little bit with Mike and Rob and cover a couple of things about the drone program that we have in place with the Honolulu Fire Department and how that came to be. My name is Eddie Molina. I am the Southeast Regional Manager for the Alert Program and am the host for this show. Our podcast is called The Call. The Call, we picked that name to represent the way we all of us get dispatched on the first responder side. Cops and firefighters get called out all the time. So that's a little bit about who I am. And my partner, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I am Emily Pettit, the Senior Alert Coordinator for the Alert Center in San Marcos, Texas.
Cool. And also on the panel with us, we have a new partner that's along with us for this ride. We're spending a week in Honolulu. Tough assignment, but we're willing to do it for the program. We're joined today by Mike Little. Mike, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Mike Little. I work with the Regional Training Group. I actually sit in the Joint Regional Intelligence Center, which is the LA Area Fusion Center, and where I do a range of intelligence sharing, information sharing, training coordination for our partner agencies, both in LA, departments in LA, and of course the 6 counties that the JRIG covers.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for sitting in with us. We
Pleasure
appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
Pushing yourself to come to Honolulu.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Rob, how about an intro?
Hi, so I'm Captain Rob Imai, the Honolulu Fire Department, and I'm program lead for the Unmanned Aircraft Systems program. And I've been a fireman or firefighter for 26 years.
26 years. Okay, cool. So I was going to ask you about the stars on your uniforms. I've seen a lot of you guys with the stars on there. Are those like, do they represent a time span?
Yes, 1 star represents 5 years.
Oh, okay, cool. So 26 years, you've been around for a little while.
Yeah.
You've probably seen a lot of changes in the fire service.
Sure have.
So I'm looking forward to hearing all of the changes. What's your plan, man? How many years you got left here?
I can go out in December.
Yeah.
I've talked to a specialist, a retirement specialist, and my numbers are good. I can go out in December, but my program is finally taking off, so maybe I'll stick around for another year or two.
Yeah, and that's kind of jumping right into it, man. You jump to the nature of why we do what we do, and you'll find that there's always cool stories about how we got started in first responders in the industry. But man, you're a giver. You're here to serve, and when you finally get the chance to do something like this, it's hard to walk away from the actual place. Yeah.
Yeah.
What brought you into the fire department?
My stepfather was actually a firefighter, and I actually wanted to be an airline pilot growing up. That was my career goal. But he kind of was explaining to me growing up how much he loved his job, and he just turned me. So I took the test, and I did well, and I got in, thanks to him.
That's awesome. So did you grow up on the island?
Half and half. I was born in born in California, Gardena, California. My parents were divorced, so my mom moved to Oahu, so me and my sister came with her when I was about 7.
That's awesome. Where does Gardena lie?
Southern California.
So, okay, cool. So Southern California, y'all came to Oahu and got started in school here, or got into your next school here.
Yeah.
Started spreading your wings, trying to learn a little bit about island life.
Yeah.
Cool. So what was high school like?
High school, I was a nerd, typical nerd guy, you know.
Yeah.
I wasn't in any sports. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, I did okay in grades. I went to some college I never finished.
Right.
It's just how it played out.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you the self-labeled nerd. You had your interest in certain things that you enjoyed doing. Is that what led you to what you're doing now with the drone program?
No. Actually, I was more of a video game kind of nerd, playing video games all the time, computer games. I actually got into drones by a police officer.
Interesting.
He actually was trying to sell me a drone. And I was like, what? I've never seen them before. And he showed it to me, and I said, okay, I'll buy it. So I did, and I just loved it ever since. And this was back in 2013.
So I'm gonna come back to the drone thing, but you hit something for me that I want to hear about. So you're a video game nerd.
Yes.
What was your favorite game?
I started with Apple computers, Apple
Okay.
IIs back in the day. I would say my best game. Well, I've been playing a lot lately, but the best game that I can recall, King's Quest.
King's Quest. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was straight off of the Apple system.
Yeah.
What's the big game now for you?
Oh, I just scored a PlayStation 5, so I've been playing this game called God of War.
Okay.
Oh, it's unreal.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I don't play video games. I grew up with an Atari system, and
Same?
same thing. So it was cool. I remember those little games there, and things have changed so much.
Yeah.
But I have heard that people are remaking those old games. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'd love to see those with the new style graphics and see the old
Unreal
games.
nowadays, yeah.
If you still have that Atari system, it's worth a lot more now.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting stuff. Yeah, I'd love to at some point explore some of that stuff and maybe learn a little bit about it. But I see kids playing games and like I can't keep up with it. I don't know if I can, but I'll try it. Cool. So high school, a little bit of college, and then how old were you when you came into the fire service?
I was 24.
24 years old.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what was the entrance like for you? You just took the test. It went well for you.
Yeah. Took the test. I did okay. I don't remember what my ranking was. And then you had to do an agility test. I wasn't really a runner then, but I did my qualification. Swimming was my thing. I aced the swim, and I got it.
Okay, that sounds cool. So you said you weren't a runner then. Are you a runner now?
Enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something to pass the time, something to get exercise.
Sure.
But man, when you're a runner here on the island, it's like you guys have a view here that's just incredible.
Yeah.
I've been here once before, and that was one of the standout things for me was I got to experience runs on the island and see the just all the foliage, the greenery that you guys have. It's just crazy the way things grow here.
Yeah.
So I love that, and just the views are great. What was the coolest thing that you remember about the change, the landscape change from California to Hawaii?
The air.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot cleaner here.
Oh, yeah, that's right. There's a lot of
I
smaller.
don't really remember much because I was still very young.
Right.
But I do enjoy going back from time to time. If I didn't get into the fire department, I was looking at moving back. So that's what happened. I played out like that. So I
Good.
stayed.
Ended up being a good fortune for you.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So tell me some about your assignments in the fire department along the way.
My assignments. Okay. Maybe my first 10 years, I was a firefighter 1, just your basic hosman. I got promoted to hazmat, so I got some hazmat background. So I was a hazmatier for about 5 years. I got promoted to driver. We call it firefighter 3 here. I was doing that for about 7 years on the west side in Kapolei, where I'm near, and I got promoted to captain.
Wow, that's great. So captain at 26 years, is that pretty common? Is that about the time span for you, or did you
No,
find
I'm late.
promotions? Yeah, you're
I'm
late behind.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
I'm
cool.
a late bloomer.
Did you find yourself just like you found a good homes in the assignments you were at? That you
Yes.
just enjoyed doing that?
Yeah.
I know that's what I did. And when I was in the police department, I found such a good home on the special operations side. I didn't want to promote. I didn't want to move on from there because I was just so happy where I was at.
Yeah.
That's good. So what drove you to the drones?
So like I said, I bought my first drone in 2013 from a police officer.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, this is fun, before I knew all the rules. And right about, I'd say 2014, fire administration started forming a little work group. There was a work group of 3. and we started to go to conferences and learning about the technology because it was just in the very beginning. Kind of died off for a little bit. Everybody went their own ways. And one day I got a call from second in command then, hey, do you want to start up this program? I want you to lead it. And so if second command asks you to do it, you do it. So I did it. And the rest is history. So I've been doing this for about 7 years.
About 7 years, cool.
Yeah.
So what were the biggest challenges on setting the program up?
Buy-in, still an issue.
Yeah.
Not everybody's bought in fully yet.
Who's the hardest people to convince?
Administration.
Admin, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do the guys in the field think about your program?
Honestly, I'd say maybe 25% of the department are curious or have used us before. The rest of them don't even know we exist.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are some of the examples of the calls you get sent out to?
Oh yeah, we go to a lot. We go to a lot of brush fires, structure fires, a lot of missing persons where we work with Kalai, rescue companies,
Right.
mountainous, ocean rescues, shoreline rescues, hazmat calls. And on the non-emergency side, we do a lot of aerial pre-plans for fire companies who request it. So
Okay, that's interesting. So how many people are in your unit?
10. We have 10 in our cadre.
That's awesome. So you have 10 people there, and how many drones do y'all fly?
Oh, good question. I wish I was prepared for that. I could say 8. 8
Okay.
mission drones right now.
So if we're on a call somewhere, we have a big fire, or we have a rescue, and we need you out there, how many people does it take? How many people do you have to send out with a drone?
Very good question. So in order for us to fly as a public aircraft, government, we have to get this thing called a certificate of authorization, which we have. It's called a COA. And the COA states it's a two-man operation.
Okay. So you have to send 2 people out on every operation.
And if there's a rescue, we usually have more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So will you have more people, more drones, a little bit more of everything out there?
Mm-hmm.
That's great. So what are the certifications that you guys have to go through to be qualified to fly these things?
I knew he was going to ask. Okay, so in order for us to fly, we were given a choice. We can go with a certificate of authorization, a COA, or fly under Part 107 certification. We actually did both.
Okay. What's the advantage?
One advantage is you have the provisions all laid out in a COA. So it's an all-encompassing document that says, okay, you can do this, this, and this for emergencies. Whereas the 107, it's kind of like piecemeal kind of operations.
Okay.
So you'd have to get additional waivers. It's very complicated. Yeah.
Okay. So since I don't have any history with drones except what I've seen, and I've seen the old department where I worked at, they were moving into a drone program, and I've seen the way people use drones as far as like for footage, just for taking pictures and making their own personal videos.
Yeah.
And I've heard of different things drones being used for different operations out there. When you guys are called out to a scene or you guys are going to plan an operation, are there certain steps that you guys have to abide by, like according to the FAA side?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we need to see is what airspace we're in. We can't just fly a drone. So I'll give you an example. I'm stationed in East Kapolei, which is within a 5-mile ring of Kalailoa Airport, which is a Class D airspace airport. In order for us to fly in an emergency within that airspace, there's a number of things we need to do. We need to coordinate with air traffic control, let them know where we are, how high we're requesting to fly, the radius of our operations. There's a lot of things we need to do.
Okay. And so do things change during operations? Like if air travel changes or do aerial landing strips change during the course of your operation, will that change what you guys are able to do?
Depends. Not for us so far. So if we happen to be working in that 5-mile ring, we have to be monitoring on ICOM that particular airport's frequency. So should something happen, we got to communicate on that ASAP. If we get a flyaway or something happens. But usually they coordinate their flights around us where we are at.
That's awesome. So what? So okay. So you've been a part of some good operations and along the way.
Yeah.
What are some of the more standout operations that you guys have participated in?
The hibiscus shooting.
Okay.
We were called out to that. That was pretty unreal.
What was your role in that?
So Chief called me and asked me to bring a team down. So we went down there, and at the time that we arrived, nobody knew where the shooter was. So we flew up, we turned on thermal trying to look in the brush. Maybe the guy was hiding in the brush. He wasn't there. We weren't picking anything up, in the area. And at that point, I think maybe about 15 minutes later, they were just monitoring the fires before everybody went in, because it was still burning. I think it was like 7 houses were burning. So we're just monitoring if there's going to be exposures burning, and just from the air, so we could let them know.
So you said you turn on the thermals. What kind of camera systems do you have on those drones?
Yeah, so that one, I don't even remember. That was the M210 platform. It's a large platform, UAS. That one.
When you say the M210, is that the name of the actual drone?
The model
of the drone.
of
Okay.
the drone, and we.
How big is it? How big is a drone like that?
Oh shoot, maybe 15 pounds.
Oh wow,
About
that's a big one.
Quarter the size of the table.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty good. So a strong one.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're carrying pretty heavy cameras.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have like a regular camera,
Dual
a thermal
payload. So
camera.
we had a regular visual camera and a thermal XT2. I don't know exactly what the specs were, but they're very good, 640 resolution. So it's pretty spot on.
Okay. And is that about a standard loadout for the birds y'all are flying?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Wow, that's interesting. So how you said you've been doing this for 7 years?
About 7.
Yeah,
sure.
on this program. Has technology changed for you guys in that short of a time?
Yeah, I'd say so. We now have one of our newer drones. We have 3 cameras built into one.
Wow.
There's more companies making payload delivery systems. We can drop packages, mesh bags, life preserver to somebody. We can stream feeds to wherever we want to now. Yeah.
Just curious, 3 cameras built into one. What would be the purpose of the function? Obviously, infrared, video. Why?
Yeah. So the one we have, it's called the H20T camera.
Mm-hmm.
It has a zoom camera,
I see.
a regular visual camera, and then you got your infrared thermal type.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So they're all interesting facts so far. But one of the cool things that we met up with a new partner this week. Mike, you have a little bit of background in a drone program.
Well, more than anything, trying to move our program along or get it moving. Obviously, drones are relatively new when it comes to use within public safety, and certainly being authorized to be utilized by the FAA and in emergency operations. This is still very new, and there are a few agencies that are really leaders in the business. Sounds like you're one of them, and kudos to you and your agency for getting it to where you are. When we talk about drones, UAS, unmanned aerial systems, both from the threat perspective, they can represent a threat. They can be hostile, utilized by criminals, terrorists to do some bad things. Within public safety, I think there's a tremendous future for the use of drones or UAS, a variety of applications, and undoubtedly those that we haven't even thought of yet. And so, yes, I did have some folks that we put on task to look at drones and UAS and determine the parameters of how they can be utilized. Obviously, for situational awareness, getting those up to feedback video of an incident would be one application. Beyond that, he talked about hazmat, the ability to actually get that in there, take samples of air and so forth, and feed that information back. That can be done much more quickly than getting a person suited up and to do an entry. And so I don't know if you're doing anything like that, but certainly at some point that'll be one of the applications. Beyond that, you may have even seen some video where people are, using drones to deliver a defibrillator, and actually a dispatcher who is able to communicate with an individual via the drone. And so this is not something that I've seen in use by departments in the United States. But undoubtedly, somewhere down the line, this is going to be another application where we'll actually see delivery of life-saving equipment via a drone. You're talking about dropping equipment to a person who may be stranded.
Payloads, yeah.
Payloads, there's a tremendous number of applications. It's just up to leaders, obviously like Honolulu Fire and other agencies out there to explore that and make that practical in the world of public safety.
Yeah, that's huge, and that's kind of one of the things I wanted to tackle on this is, what do you guys see as the future of your program here in Honolulu? Because I know you're 7 years into it, and you talked about the first drone you bought from a police officer. What was that? Do you remember that first drone?
I do.
What was it?
It was a Phantom 1.
All right.
DJI Phantom 1, yeah.
And what was that like? I mean, how did that rank and what you got or what you like?
Oh man, that one you had to attach a GoPro. You couldn't see what the drone could see. You couldn't get a live feed. Yeah, your range was very limited. And this was before I knew all the rules, so I flew it any old where. But yeah, compared to the stuff we have now, it's leaps and bounds better. Yeah.
So what's the future look like of the technology? What does the future look like for, what's your next drone that you want to buy for your program?
Actually, there really isn't anything that I can see us getting. And I kind of keep up with the technology.
Sure.
We pretty much got the high-end stuff for us. But as far as expansion, the only thing that I wish I could see is we expand more in our department, having a set drone team, designated set location where we're going to be, have different satellite stations where we can have drones stand by, at another location.
Right.
Better live feed, maybe in the future. That's what I want to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
right now we have a little bit of latency.
You talked about dropping a payload out for whatever, a rescue or for a water situation. What's the heaviest payload you guys have dropped?
So the platform that we have a drop system. It's limited to 3.5 pounds, but that's actually a lot.
Yeah.
So we've trained with it. What we do is we have a mesh laundry bag. We put a couple of bottled waters in it, and we wrap it up with an emergency blanket. Well, maybe we'll put in a walkie-talkie and some snacks. So if rescue, like Kalai, they go and find a hiker, but it's just too windy, unsafe for them to make a drop or rappel off or find them, they tell them you guys are gonna have to stay overnight. So we can come in and maybe we can drop them a care package.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, life preserver is a little bit not really realistic, but because by the time if there was a drowning or something, it's kind of a little bit too late.
Right.
Because it'll take us about 20 minutes to get there.
Sure.
I just asked a question. You mentioned the hibiscus incident that you utilized the drone, and I can think of that being one of the best applications or the best returns on that investment, because you have a large hot zone. You've got a shooter, I think you had a rifle, and so you really can't get firefighters too close to that situation. But you're going to have to do that search to determine potentially where the shooter is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have people that need to be rescued? And so the drone would be one of the best tools to utilize in
I
that
think
situation. My curiosity, is there an operation or a specific approach? Now, we know there's potentially side A, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. There are ways we conduct searches, in the real world. Is there some approach to conducting a search with a drone that you can speak to when you're in a scenario like that, where you've got a fire, there's a shooter, and you're going to put a drone in the air to search either for a shooter or for potential victims or people that are in need of rescue?
Yeah, as far as the drone side, we don't have any set procedure as far as that, how we're going to fly in.
Yes.
So based off of what I train our operators is you got to do a risk assessment. So we're definitely not going to be flying over people. That's against the FAA rule. So when I got there, hey, can you get it up right away? That hibiscus fire. So I got it up right away, kept the distance. I don't know if the guy was going to shoot at it. We didn't know where he was, so I kind of kept our distance. And that's what we ended up doing. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very hot scene, not just the fact that there was a shooter there, but there was 7 houses on fire at one point, and there's a lot of heat coming off of that, and heat creates its own problems outward, but also upward. So was there any problems that were created by all that heat for you guys?
It's for firemen, it's kind of common sense. You kind of want to stay upwind of the smoke. I believe that day the wind was blowing east, so we're on the west side of it. You're not going to fly in smoke.
Right.
So yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. I just kind of figured there'd be some swirls of the heat pushing your bird around, and that's good to hear that you didn't have that problem.
It was just chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many of your teams were out there
That day, I think we had 3 guys.
Yeah.
So I believe I was flying, and I had 2 spotters with me.
Were you on duty that day, or did they call you in?
I don't remember. I think I was off duty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was off duty.
I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people that were on scene that day, and it's incredible how many people were actually off duty that showed up and responded. A lot like what happened with 9/11, there was people that were off duty, and firefighters across the board will respond. Even if they're off duty, they're going to put their gear on and they're going to drop
Yeah.
their families off
Yeah.
and let's go to work. And we truly appreciate that about the fire service, because that's the mentality of you guys. But yeah, I always like to hear, man, were you guys off duty or on duty? Because so many of y'all respond when you don't have to. And that's cool. So you guys responded. You had about 3 teams out there. Was there anybody out there that you guys knew, or any of the people that were hurt that day? Did you guys have any familiarity with the teams that were out there on the ground?
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all. There was so many people there, so many police officers. Everybody came. FBI was there. We just parked away, out of the way. We didn't want to get in the way of anybody, and just flew.
How were the comms out there that day? Because there was chaos. It was chaos. There's tons of people out there, a lot of stuff happening all at the same time. How was the communication for you guys between your teams and the people on the ground, or the people in the command center? How was communications there?
We had one point of contact, Sonny Santos, I
Okay.
believe his name is, and he was going back and forth, telling us what to do. But he was already busy already, so it was very rare. So we just waited until he told us to go, you know.
So yeah, that's good info. I know Sonny. I know he stays busy. I think he knows everybody on the island, and people that haven't moved to the island yet. He probably already knows
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
He's got a wide range of people that he knows. So I know he stays busy. So if you were able to help those guys out, I mean, I can only imagine that eye in the sky is going to help people with their movements. Had you been through any special trainings before that incident that you think helped you out to familiarize yourself with the command structure or the staging setup?
No, not at all. Just your basic ICS structure type of stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as drone training, no.
So has training for you guys, or has training with the department changed at all to where you feel like there's been, I guess, an improvement in the training that familiarizes you with the structure of the staging, or that makes it easier for you to communicate with the PD and the fire guys at the same time?
I think it's still a work in progress, but one of our battalion chiefs runs the active threat program, and I coordinate with him, and we go back and forth with information, how we can improve things.
Okay, and that's Chief Craig?
Yes.
Craig Uchimura. He's a great guy. Also, just like Sonny, he stays very busy, and he seems to always make himself available to help people out. But you guys in the Honolulu Fire Department don't lack for anybody's vision. Like people have great vision here, and you guys are always looking for something new, a better way to expand, a better way to improve. So we like hearing those stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 26 years in the fire service.
Mm-hmm.
What are the biggest changes, the biggest improvements that you've seen along the way?
Yeah. Better quality of life at work. We got better stations. Most stations are renovated. Yeah, that's about it. It's pretty much the same almost from when I first got in.
It's probably one of the few departments. I mean, we think Hawaii was not a state until 1959, I believe it was. And so you were founded in 1851. So the lion's share of the history of the Honolulu Fire Department was not a part of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of an interesting side note.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a museum or something, but
Yeah, we do have a
just from a
museum
historical
at our
perspective.
headquarters. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I love hearing that, and it's interesting that you have that perspective. The improved quality of life at work is huge, so people don't understand. Can you explain a little bit about the standard firefighters shift and what life is like on duty?
Sure. So the way our shift works is we work roughly 10 days of the month, 24-hour shifts. As an example, say Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we'll work a 24-hour shift. Tuesday, Thursday would be 24 off. And after that third shift, we have a 4-day break, and that cycle just rotates. And it works out 10 days of the month. And there's 3 platoons, 3 watches. So 3 different companies at each station.
Okay. So,
lunches.
so with that type of a schedule, it seems like your 4-day gap would constantly rotate,
Rotate.
or does it stay? Do you keep the same 4 days off every week?
After it follows that cycle, yeah.
Okay, cool. So then you have 4 days off. You come back to work. You do 3 sets of 24 off, 24 on, 24 off, and you have the 4-day gap again.
Mhm.
So what's life like at the station when you report to work?
First thing, do the manpower. Make sure we have all our guys that's on duty. Make sure everybody's. You got to do temperature checks.
Sure.
You know, COVID.
Right?
Yeah, so we'll do all the administrative work in the morning. We usually go and drill, some kind of drill in the morning. Then
What's
work-
that? Like drills? What do y'all
Either
do?
wet drills, pull some line, make sure our driver can pump. You know, everybody's good at it. Your basic ropes and knot drills, whatever we need to cover.
Okay. So standard practice for the day.
Yeah, and then if somebody on our truck is cooking, then we go shop for cooking. You know, go grocery store.
Now that's what I want to hear about
Yeah.
right there. So
Yeah.
I know we have the big rivalries, LE and Fire. We have big rivalries, but one of the things that we truly appreciate is that you guys let us in when you guys are cooking. So who's the best cook at your station?
On my watch has to be Mike Mendez, who happens to be my right hand and in my drone program. He's actually from LA, and he makes really good Mexican food.
Tell me about that. Yeah. So what was your specialty cooking?
Jeez, I was a terrible cook even when I was cooking. Beef sukiyaki.
Well, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, I remember that one was pretty popular at work. Lobster bisque. I used to make a pretty good seafood bisque.
Man, that's interesting. Your range is pretty big.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
Mike, do you remember your specialty?
No, not really. I don't think I was ever really a good cook, and so I don't know if I had a go-to plate, so to speak. But you know, a lot of Italian food, lasagna, that kind of thing, easy, hard to mess up lasagna.
And something you can cook for a lot of people.
Exactly.
You have a lot of people in the station at the same time. Cool. So cooking, obviously, right? So what about, so one of the things on our side that we're going to jack with you all about is we see guys that cook, and we see the CrossFit guys, we see the workout guys, and we see all the little things that you guys are doing. So you cook. What about the workouts? When you all get your workouts in, is that like a
Yeah.
Is that a designated time or something you guys just work in?
Yeah, so because of COVID, I tell my guys, I don't want everybody all congested in the workout room, you know, kind of space it out. So I tell them after lunch, if you want to work out, go ahead. But normally we have it at 4 p.m., 1600.
Okay.
That's the workout time.
Okay, that's cool. And so, I'm just assuming that workouts take a second place or the back seat when we have calls, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So how what's the longest shift you've ever been on? I know 24 is a standard shift, but when special things happen out there, we have to make accommodations for it. I know that during 9/11, everybody went to work. I was off duty when 9/11 started, kicked off, and we got called in and we stayed at work for a couple of days. And then before we figured out the 12-hour shifts, what did you guys do, or what's your
Yeah.
standard response when there's something big,
Our standard response?
or when something big kicks off, like a 9/11 type of a deal? What's the longest shift you've ever been on?
Good. Okay, now I know exactly. I believe it was either 2000 or 2001, we had a big high-rise fire. It was called the Interstate Building Fire.
Okay.
I remember I was on shift, and I ended up getting called for that. So I ended up working 72 hours straight.
Wow.
I expected everybody to stay on duty.
Huh.
In fact, it was a mandatory because the manpower was so bad.
72 hours is
I
a
did
long time to
72
stay.
hour stay, yeah.
To stay actually in the fight mentally, that's a long time. What rank were you at that point?
I was a 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were actually boots on the ground, hands on the hose.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember that fire. What year was that? And loss of life, or?
You know what? Actually,
was
I
the
might have
incident? Do you
gotten that
remember?
mixed up with 9/11. It was earlier. Maybe it might have been the late 90s.
Yeah.
But it was the Interstate Fire, one of the
Interstate fire.
HFD's
Yeah.
bigger high-rise fires
Was it
compared
a
to the Marco Polo.
business office or a
It
hotel?
was, I remember it because that's where our credit union was.
Oh,
It
wow.
was in town.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
But
we
I
really
know that I was a firefighter 1.
okay. So that was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's your longest shift. What's the squirreliest fire you ever had to fight, or the weirdest call you've ever been on?
Oh, geez, I got so many.
Yeah.
I can't think of one right now. I've been to a lot of squirrely ones, but it's not coming to me. But I'll let you know when I remember.
All right. So I know that there were standards when I was on the streets and I was doing patrol calls. There was regular customers. What was it about the regulars that you remember? Or is there any particular regulars that you remember responding to?
Regulars?
Yeah, the regulars. Somebody was sick all the time, or somebody had something going on at the house all the time where fire got called out to them. Did you guys have that problem?
Yeah, everybody gets those, yeah. We just got to do what we got to do. I mean, it could be frustrating, but we got to do our job, even if it's one of those.
Sure, absolutely. If somebody's arm was hurt or somebody felt a little sick.
Yeah.
So those were the I guess the regular repeat customers.
Yeah, the frequent flyers, I think they
Yes,
call
the
them.
frequent
Yeah.
flyers. Mike, do you remember anything about your frequent flyers?
Not really, to be frank with you. I know during this whole SWAT liaison time, there were frequent flyers that were, the jumpers, the people that had. Sadly, really, it's
Yeah.
not something to make a humorous note, but mental health disorders
Yeah.
that would threaten suicide, and there are several frequent flyers. Sadly, folks that would find themselves in that situation,
Yep.
a number of times, and fortunately, very competent and skilled folks that manage those situations, and sad to see, but good to see we have competent professionals that know how to talk them off a ledge.
Well, you seem to have led me right in the right direction. So that was one of the things that I noticed growing up in the department. When we responded to the regulars, the young guys like myself and the older guys that were out there on the streets for a while, we each had a different mindset when we went to that place because, like you said, it's somebody that has more experience than me out there actually responding. Did you notice that difference on the fire side, that when y'all went to the regulars, that the older guys had a different response than you as a younger guy?
I can say this. A lot of the younger guys, and I was probably like that when I was first got in. They get excited for structure fires. They're like, oh yeah. As you get older, as you get more in your career, I'm like, that's somebody's house. You shouldn't be getting excited to go to something like this. So
That's exactly what I'm talking about. We have that certain bit of experience. We're responding for a reason, and there was a reason that you guys started the service, right?
yeah.
And it kind of rings true when we have those guys that have been there for a little while pointing it out to us. Go ahead, Mike.
No, just it's pretty simple. Law enforcement, fire service, you're there to help people. And if you lack compassion, if you're there for fun, if you're there for how could you put it, that the drive that comes with the exciting incidents, maybe your heart's not in the right place. It's really about helping people. They're dialing 911. They are, as was mentioned earlier, in a position of vulnerability. They do need your help, and they need people that are compassionate, that know how to see that is a human being, that is someone's property, that is a tragedy in someone's life. And if you're missing that, I think that maybe comes with age and maturity, perhaps, but it's important to push that down as leaders, that's really what we're here for. These are the things people can talk about in an interview.
Yeah.
But 2 years later, are they still that person who's concerned about serving in their community and doing it for the right reasons?
Yeah, absolutely. And with leadership and setting up a brand new program like you guys are doing, is there anything that you would recommend to whether it's the young aspiring firefighters or the kids out there that are thinking about creating a career of being a drone operator? Because there's a lot of people out there that this is a big field for this, a big expanding field right now. Is there something in particular that you look for in somebody that you would want to recruit to your unit? Or is there something that you would recommend to the kids that aspire to do this?
Well, we do get quite a bit of people requesting to be in the drone program. Due to budget, we can't just take anybody right now, present
Right.
in the budget state that we're in. But what I do is I just make sure they're responsible. I mean, I'll give them a sample. It's like, okay, we're here, you're gonna fly the drone. What is the first thing you're gonna do? I wanna hear them say risk assessment. I want to see if they have a background of the rules and regulations regarding the FAA. Do you know the airspace you're in? Did you check TFRs, are we allowed to fly today? You know, stuff like that. As long as they know that kind of stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
I'll bring them in.
That gets them all, to the door.
Yeah, and on the flip side, you would ask a student wanting to get into a drone program
Sure.
or something. I gotta say this. So the city, the state of Hawaii, you get city and county, and the state of Hawaii. You get all these different departments. We actually had a drone citywide drone work group. All the different agencies all got together. Who's interested in drones? Once they realized how much work needed to be put into a drone program, nobody wanted to do it. I'm gonna be totally honest. Only us and HPD.
All right.
Yeah. 'Cause it takes a lot of work.
So if you could go back to your kid days to prepare for this work field,
Yeah.
is there anything you would have studied or learned more about?
Earlier, I'd said that I wanted to be an airline pilot.
Right.
I wish I actually got a pilot's license. That probably helped my background a little bit.
Wow, that's interesting.
You know, the rules.
To learn the FAA rules?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit. And back then, I didn't do it because it was expensive to get the training for becoming a private pilot.
Right.
I wish I did it.
That's cool. Yeah, so you have something?
Oh no, I was just going to say it's important to have people that keep pace with this industry. It's a new, really industry. UASs and such. The threats that they represent. Just on the beach, I see drones flying around. I don't know the legalities of some of that, but they're being utilized to deploy bombs. I mean, there's all kinds of threats that they represent. They can be very useful, but we need people to stay engaged in this business. Obviously in its various applications in public safety, but also keeping awareness of where it can actually threaten our communities and represent a threat to public safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 26 years on, you're pretty close to retirement. What does off time look right now like for Rob? When you're off duty, what's your thing?
I have 2 daughters, both in softball,
Oh,
so that's a lot of my days off.
I get
taking
that.
them to practice and my video games.
Wow, that's awesome.
But I also have my phone with me. I'm on call, sort of on call to Chief Craig. If he calls me for a drone mission, I can rally my team up,
Yeah, you're the leader of the program,
Yeah,
so you're always
they're
on
always
call
gonna
pretty
call
much.
me, yeah.
Well, that's cool. Do your kids do the travel? Do you all have travel ball on the island? 'Cause I know. So travel ball in this on the mainland. Any sport that there is, there's a travel aspect to it. So we did that a lot. We were always traveling for baseball, traveling for tennis, and all that. So I was wondering what that's like here on the island. But softball will keep you busy. Kids will keep you busy, and you got to have hobbies like the video games and all that.
Yeah, they've been traveling a bit. My girls, yeah. Every year there's something.
Do you all go to the mainland?
Yeah,
Really?
Tournaments.
Where's the coolest tournament y'all have been to?
Vegas.
Oh, yeah?
The last couple of years ago, we went to a tournament in Las Vegas. That was fun.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a great vacation, and they're never just wind down vacations when sports are involved. You're gonna go and do sports. Mike, I'm not even going to ask you what your off time's like because I know you'll never quit working. Thank you, and thank you to all the littles that are out there waiting for us to get done with you. I know that you give away a lot of time, so I really appreciate that of you.
Yeah, it takes a balance. Obviously, I like what I do. I love the people I work with. It's an important mission. Obviously, Homeland Security, counterterrorism. It's a broader, it's an element, I should say, of public safety. Really, and I, as long as I've been involved in this, in the different facets, counterterrorism, and obviously the different special mission areas, and right now the intelligence sharing coordination, I like doing it. It's very, I think, gratifying, helping us to be better at how we coordinate in all the very bad things that can happen out there, and ultimately, we're talking about saving people's lives, and so I very much enjoy that, and I'm glad that I'm able to, meet the very talented people that have the same passion about what they do. It's very, very rewarding.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Any recommendations on a book or a podcast or a movie that your most recent that you would recommend to everybody?
As far as drones?
No, just overall for relaxation or for enjoyment.
Oh, geez. Okay. If you have Amazon Prime, I suggest the show called Bosch. Love that because it takes place in L.A.
All right. I have not seen that, but I'll look for it.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Awesome, cool.
I'll just throw out, I have a twin brother. I may have mentioned that, who's in
Yeah.
the movie business, first AD. And so just, it's fascinating to talk with him. He's continuously talking to me to get the inside scoop on the different aspects of what we do. And so there's perhaps some reflection of my experience in his business. But, being a part of this has been very, very special, but also being able to share those experiences with someone else who tries to portray that, to people via, the big screen. It's also a pretty fun part of what I do.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, thanks for all the info. Thanks for taking your time. Guys, on behalf of the Alert program, we definitely thank you guys for being here and taking the time out of your day. And thank you to the Honolulu Fire Department for allowing this to happen. It's a real big thing for us to have you guys around. Look for us on the web, alert.org, ALERRT.org. Thanks again for being here. Emily, why don't we wrap this up and fade to black?